And about to see the end here of the Schoolgirls Cox Quad Scull third semi-final, Owen.
Yeah, so these next two semi-finals, all about trying not to finish in final place. If you don't finish in final place, you go through to the C final. You finish in final place, you go through to the D final. So Cardinia International College that lead this one from PLC Sydney, Newcastle Grammar in third, Shelford Girls Grammar in fourth place. So it is Cardinia International College that will take the win and go through to tomorrow's C final with PLC Sydney in second spot. Newcastle Grammar holding Thea Addison coached Shelford Girls Grammar, who are out of Melbourne at just over a boat length's reach, and they placed third and fourth respectively, and fifth will go to Ballarat Clarendon, who will go through to tomorrow's final D.
So unofficially there in race 415, it is the Cardinia International College from Geelong who win the race. Second place to PLC Sydney, third Newcastle Grammar, fourth is Shelford Girls Grammar. Those four crews through to the C final of the Schoolgirls Cox Quad Scull, and in fifth place the crew from Ballarat Clarendon, 7:43.10 the time and 3.55 seconds between first and second in race 415, the semi-final three of the Schoolgirls Coxed Quad Scull. The Bob Blake Shield for the state with the most points in the para-rowing event will now be presented by Mr. Jim Gibson, President of Rowing Tasmania, and the winning state for 2019 is New South Wales. Sarah Cook will receive the trophy on behalf of New South Wales. Congratulations to New South Wales, the state with the most points in para-rowing events, winners of the Bob Blake Shield. Back to the racing on the course, the semi-final four in the Schoolgirls Coxed Quad Scull. Again, for positions in the C and D finals. Lane 3, Strathcona from Melbourne, as is also the case in Lane 4. Lane 5 is Kinross Walleroy, and Lane 6, the Walford Anglican School.
And Kinross Walleroy School that lead as they come up towards the 1500 metre mark and through the 1500 metre mark ahead of Strathcona in second spot. And in third we have Walford Anglican, and the second of the Strathcona boats, the crew over on the far side, Claire Bolter, Izzy Dodonka, Erin Teeler, Bronte Coxill and Lara Hines, the coxswain, coached by Jackson Harrison. Izzy Doiker are the crew that's in danger of missing qualification to the C final, and they will possibly in the D final tomorrow to take on Ballarat and Clarendon from the previous semi-final. So Kinross Walleroy School, Emma Sporer, Katie Coleman, Olivia Hilda, Lucy Kirk and Lucinda McCartan, the coxswain, and coached by Sarah Cook. Continue to lead the crew from Strathcona, Zoe Lee, Katie Johnson, Annie McGregor and Kate Evans. Sophie Close, the coxswain, coached by Jordan Smith. Strathcona School out of Melbourne. They train on the upper reaches of the Yarra River. And certainly going to get one crew through to the C final. It looks like it'll be a fair bit to do for the other one too.
The upper reaches of the mighty Yarra, Owen, as it's known down there.
That's right, that's right. And we often see them practicing in the Yarra the day before the head of the Yarra, when all of Australia flocks to the great city of Melbourne for Australia's rowing classic, as it's known.
Yes, Australia's most, was it the world's most livable city? Not quite last year. I think they only came second to Vienna, but very proud of their sporting reputation in Melbourne, I can assure you.
And it is Kinross Walleroy that are in the closing stages of this one, going about the business, putting their bow across the line in first spot, which will mean a C final for them. And to join them in that C final tomorrow will be Strathcona's crew of Lee, Johnson, McGregor and Evans, and Walford Anglican from Adelaide, South Australia, will place third. And the second Strathcona crew, the crew out of lane number 3, will go through to final D.
So Kinross Walleroy in first place there in race 416. Second place to Strathcona lane 4. That's the crew stroked by Kate Evans. Third place Walford Anglican. Those three through to the C final, and the D final for fourth place Strathcona. The crew there stroked by Bronte Coxill. That's semi-final 4 of the Schoolgirls Coxed Quad Scull. 7:47.13 the winning time there, and 7.90 seconds between first and second. Racing also in the semis now of the Schoolboys Coxed Quad Scull. These first 2 semi-finals are to work out our A and B finalists. Newington in lane 1, Radford College of the ACT in lane 2, Brighton Grammar School from Melbourne are in 3, Newington in 4, the Launceston Church Grammar School in 5, Gippsland Grammar lane 6, Kinross Walleroy in 7, and Brisbane Boys College are racing in lane 8.
Yeah, so a very good first half of the race for the crew from Newington College. They're 4 out from the far side of the course. They have a bit of clear water over Radford College, who are 2 lanes across in lane number 2, and then followed by Launceston Church Grammar from Tasmania in lane number 5. Very close then to Brighton Grammar, just 0.35 back, and then 0.38 to Kinross Walleroy. And then the other Newington crew over on the far side of the course in 6, Gippsland Grammar in 7, the Brisbane Boys in 8th position.
We're going to see, Owen, in a couple of hours' time, a row pass as part of the celebration of the centenary of the King's Cup, of course, with tomorrow's race. But some of the Australian Defence Force rowing crews are going to do a row past in between races on a pretty packed schedule today. One in a modern boat and one in a Donoratico, the old wooden boat, which is on display up here behind the grandstand. A magnificent looking old boat. It's up there with the King's Cup trophy on display as well. The Donoratico actually owned by Michael Kemp, whose Facebook page is Vintage Wooden Rowing Boats. And they've done a great job restoring that old Donoratico, and we'll see it on the water in a couple of hours' time. So something to look forward to there.
Yeah, Michael Kemp has an absolutely amazing collection of boats and incredible work that he's done driving around the country and collecting them from various rowing clubs and bringing them back, restoring them. And he does an absolutely incredible job with that, and has a huge fleet of boats at his boat shed. And you often see him out paddling with photos on social media in that on those boats, and enjoying the lovely feel of rowing a beautiful timber rowing shell.
Yeah, and if you want to go and have a look at it, I think it's still on display at the moment alongside the King's Cup display behind the grandstand there, but it's going out in the water, of course, in a couple of hours' time. So go along and have a look at that boat and just see how well it has been restored.
And guys that have never rowed in a timber boat with timber blades is Newington College, I'd presume, as they lead this Schoolboy Coxed Quad semi-final. And a great race going on for the minor placings. Launceston Church Grammar have moved up with Radford College, and then it's the crew from Brighton Grammar with the bucket hats on that are there in about 4th position. But Kinross Walleroy charging on this side of the course. Brisbane Boys are also starting to come into the mix, and likewise Gippsland Grammar don't want to miss out either. It's only the second of the Newington boats on the far side of the course, it would seem, that have too much work to do if they're going to try and grab a top 4 spot. But still a little bit of clear water from the stern of Newington to the chasing pack, and Kinross Walleroy starting to make their charge. Second from the grandstand side of the course in the blue boat, and Brighton Grammar also trying to respond. Radford College, who have been right up there in the mix for the bulk of the race, they're still in 2nd or 3rd in a great tussle with Launceston Church Grammar. But at the head of the field, Newington College, Harry Jansen, Angus Webster, Alexander Wood, Finn Tainch, Thomas Wadland, the Cox, and they're out of their first 8, those guys. They claim the win. Radford College hold on for 2nd. 3rd goes to Launceston Church Grammar. Brighton Grammar grab that all-important 4th place ahead of a fast-finishing Kinross Walleroy, who are 5th. 6th then goes to Brisbane Boys, Gippsland Grammar in 7th, and the second of the Newington boats crossing in 8th position.
So really tight finish there from 2nd down to 5th, and only 4 crews can go through. Newington certainly comfortably in front. They win it on lane 4. 2nd place goes to Radford College of the ACT. 3rd, the Launceston Church Grammar School. And 4th will be Brighton Grammar, narrowly on lane 3. So those 4 crews through to the A final. Just missing out, it was Kinross Walleroy in 5th place. 6th goes to Brisbane Boys College. 7th, Gippsland Grammar. And 8th, the crew the second of the crews from Newington over in lane 1. So first 4 through to the A final. The unofficial winning time there, 6:38.15. And the margin 3.79 seconds from first to second. And then 0.27, 0.88 and 0.35 amongst the minor placings. Very close there in the first semi of the schoolboys Cox Quad Scull. The second semi-final is also on the course. They are through the first 500 metres of that race to decide the remaining 4 A finalists in this event. It's Melbourne High lane 1, St Joseph's of Sydney in lane 2, Brisbane Grammar School in 3, the Southport School in 4, Redlands from Sydney in 5, Newington in 6, Pulteney Grammar in 7 and Cranbrook School in lane 8.
Yeah, so Redlands led through the first 500 metres. You can see it's very, very close here, only about two and a half lengths separating first from 8th in this very, very tight field. Newington leading out of lane number 6 very narrowly from Melbourne High School over on the far side of the course. And you can see they get the Pashmina out. That's between those top 4.
All 8 really, down to Pulteney in 8th place. There would be, 3 or 4 seconds the field at this stage.
Yeah, so a lot of those margins got zeros in front of only one with over a second separating any of those crews. So Redlands, the early race leaders, there in 3rd spot and having a good tussle as Melbourne High now. You can see with their bow number 1 over on the far side of the course and starting to see the colours of Brisbane Grammar. And closest to us is Newington College with the white colours, big black stripe down the back and the wyvern on the front of the singlets of theirs as they lead this field as they come through about 1,300 metres. So a fantastic race. Only around about a length and 3/4, 2 lengths separating first from the 8th place crew, which is the Pulteney Grammar School crew from Adelaide in South Australia, as Newington College continue to lead, and it's you're talking about seats here, not lengths, separating these leading boats. So great performance coming from Melbourne High, Brisbane Grammar, and Redlands as they start to make up their way through the 1,500 metre mark. So only 4 will go through to the A final. The remaining 4 will have to fight it out in the B final for places 9 through to 16. As we'll see who's got the sprint here and who's going to pay the price for taking it harder than they perhaps should have in the early stages of this one. Starting to make their way through Southport School into the race lead out of lane number 4 ahead of Newington College and Melbourne High. And you can see the coaches there. They're going to be pretty hoarse by the time they finish this one. And Brisbane Grammar there in 4th position as this great race going on between lanes 4, 6, 1 and 3. So Southport School with those very, very bright fluoro caps in lane number 4 in the Hudson Shell that lead from the early race leaders. Newington College and Melbourne High have just been hanging around in that 3rd spot in a qualification position with Brisbane Grammar. Redlands are there next in 5th position, and then it's back to crew from Cranbrook on this side of the course, and then followed by St Joseph's College, and then in final place Pulteney Grammar from Adelaide in South Australia. So hitting the front in the latter stages of this one is the crew from the Southport School. They have had a very, very good last 500 metres as they lead. Redlands currently in that 5th position, trailing Brisbane Grammar School, but looks like the qualifiers starting to really emerge in this one, with Newington starting to push back on the Southport School from the Gold Coast, and Newington College are going to take this one out. Semi-final number 2 of the schoolboy Cox Quad Scull. Southport School claiming 2nd, Melbourne High 3rd, Brisbane Grammar 4th. Redlands will go through to the B final as a result of placing 5th. Cranbrook 6th, St Joseph's College, Hunters Hill just claiming 7th ahead of Pulteney Grammar from Adelaide.
Great racing once again in the second semi-final of the schoolboys Coxed Quad Scull. That should be a great final tomorrow. But for the second race in a row, Newington the winners on lane 6 this time around. They are ahead of the Southport School in 2nd place, Melbourne High 3rd, and Brisbane Grammar School in 4th place. They are the qualifiers for the A final of this event. 5th place, Redlands. 6th, Cranbrook. 7th, St Joseph's. And 8th, Pulteney Grammar. They are the 4 crews that will go through to the B final. The winning time there for Newington, 6:41.01, about 3 seconds slower than the first semi-final, but very tight once again, the margin, 0.65 seconds from first to second. Two more semi-finals to follow of the Schoolboys Cox Quad Scull. This is for the C and D finalists, so semi-finals 3 and 4, and semi-3 is well and truly underway. It is a field of 5, and it's Ballarat Clarendon in lane 3. I'm not sure if that list is completely correct, but certainly Hunter Valley Grammar lane 4, Ignatius in 5, Radford College 6, and Cardinia International College in lane 7 is the field I have. We had Redlands listed in lane 3, so we'll wait till these crews get clearly in the shot just to work out the far side combination. But the race, it seems, being led in any case by Ignatius on lane 5.
No, so that looks like the Redlands crew have been pushed into 2 semi-finals in this one. It should be Ballarat and Clarendon in lane number 3. So that is the case. And it is the crew out of lane number 5. Ignatius from Townsville, Elliot Basso, Joshua Holcroft, Jake Gilmore, Anthony Gretsch, and Atticus DeMello. Is the coxswain, and we just had confirmation Ballarat Clarendon is in lane number 3. So Ignatius, coached by Harrison Parks and Patrick Boniface, that continue to lead this one as they come through the 1500 metre mark from the crew on their starboard side or bow side, which is Radford College from Canberra in the ACT. Tyson Munro, Angus Abbott, Sam Robert, Ethan Toscan, and Sam Lloyd, coached by Alex Hodges, Corey Kovacs, and Vicky Spencer, who's the director of rowing at Radford College, a co-educational school located right near the campus of the University of Canberra in our nation's capital. And then we go back to Hunter Valley Grammar School, second from the far side of the course, who are having a good race with Cardinia International College for 3rd and 4th, but it's all about not finishing 5th in this one. Top 4 goes through to the C final. 5th, which looks like the fate for Ballarat Clarendon, will go through to the D final. So only 200 metres left to go for Ignatius, as they lead by around about 1 boat length over Radford College, second of the Radford boats in this event. Already had crew qualify for the A final from the first semi-finals, and their second boat here looks set to go through to the C final. So Ignatius from Townsville just starting to move away a little bit in the latter stages of this one. They're really still hauling on those handles as they draw them through to the body. And Ignatius from Townsville will take out semi-final number 3 and go through to the C final of the Schoolboy Cox Quad Scull. Radford College placing second. Hunter Valley Grammar School from near Maitland in Newcastle, or in New South Wales, will place 3rd. 4th will go to Cardinia International College, and 5th to Ballarat Clarendon.
So the top 4 through to the C final from semi-final 3 of the Schoolboys Cox Quad Scull. First place, Ignatius Park College from Townsville. 2nd, Radford College from the ACT. 3rd place, Hunter Valley Grammar. And 4th, Cardinia International College from Geelong. They are the 4 crews to qualify for the C final. Across the line now in 5th place and going through to the D final, the crew from Ballarat Clarendon College. 6:57.87, the winning time there for Ignatius. And racing continues with semi-final 4 now of the Schoolboys Cox Quad Scull race, 420, and a field of 4. Sydney Secondary College in lane 3, Cathedral Townsville in lane 4, Newcastle Grammar in 5, Scotch Adelaide in 6. And the program says 1 to 4 through to the C final, but I'd imagine on the last place crew possibly to the D final in this case.
Yeah, that's seemingly the trend of what we've seen. So we'll await confirmation though, and still obviously race as hard as you can and try and finish as high as possible, and then progression can sort itself out. So yeah, it is in this one, Newcastle Grammar School that lead. Newcastle Grammar, the defending champions in this event last year. The crew that Gavin Ellis took all the way from year 7 and 8 all the way through to win the national title. Fantastic performance it was last year. They're here in semi-final number 4 and trying to qualify for the C final. Jaden Routley, Kyle Riley, Max Boyd, Nicholas McGrath are this year's crew. Acacia Ozturk, the very experienced coxswain there in the bow of that boat, and they're coached by Bronson Elsley. And Bronson Elsley, former student at Newcastle Grammar School, and they're out to margin that is starting to push out to about a boat length over Cathedral Townsville. Jacob Pang, Patrick Axford, Ben Horsnell and Gordon Applequin. We saw Horsnell and Applequin do very well in the double scull. And that crew comfortably in 2nd spot. 3rd, Scotch College from Adelaide. And then they're followed by Sydney Secondary College in 4th position. Sydney Secondary College are now 3 schools that have been rebranded to come under the one umbrella, with Balmain and Leichhardt Highs taking year 7 to 10, and they feed into former Glebe High, which is now known as Blackwattle Bay campus, which is right near the Sydney fish markets and soon to be even nearer to the soon to be redeveloped Sydney fish markets. And they are currently in 4th place in this one. So Newcastle Grammar School. The Newcastle Grammar School, so with a length, and they're working hard all the way to the finish, and they will go through to tomorrow's C final as winners of semi-final number 4, ahead of Cathedral Townsville in 2nd spot. And they're followed then by Scotch College Adelaide, who will place 3rd, and Sydney Secondary College are heading up towards the last 60 metres, and they will cross the line in 4th position.
So Newcastle Grammar first, unofficially there in 6:54.57. Cathedral Townsville 2nd. Scotch Adelaide in 3rd place to the C final. And we presume to the D final goes the Sydney Secondary College crew in 4th place. So we have another final on the course and already underway, in fact, one of the big ones, the final of the Open Women's Quad Scull. Huon Composite, the title holders here, and a field of 5. Sydney and Mercantile racing in lane 3. Swan River and Capital Lakes in lane 4. Melbourne University in lane 5. University of Queensland Cairns and Melbourne University in 6. And Huon and the National Training Centre in lane 7. Plenty of NTC athletes in this one, Owen.
Yes, and certainly a real mix of crews in this one. And we have the Sydney Composite with the National Training Centre that are leading through the halfway mark. That's Madeline Thomas, Georgia Stewart, Katrina Bateman and Leah Saunders. And they lead from Swan River and Capital Lakes Composite in lane number 4. And then follows Huon a further 1.49 seconds back in 3rd spot. University of Queensland Composite with Cairns and Melbourne University are in 4th. And the Melbourne University crew in lane number 5 is back in 5th position. And they're just dropping back a little bit off the pace in this one. But we have on screen lane number 3, Sydney Mercantile. And that combination, Madeline Thomas of Mercantile, Georgia Stewart of Mercantile. In the 2-seat there, we see Leah Saunders of Sydney Rowing Club, and in that boat also Katrina Bateman, who's back into the Australian team, having been selected into the Quad Scull to relocate to Canberra for the first couple of World Cups. Georgia Stewart, very, very experienced from the Mercantile Club. Madeline Thomas also, and Katrina Bateman also in there, and Leah Saunders, who is a World Championship bronze medalist from the Women's 8 last year. back with sculling with 2 oars. Of course, she started her sculling career on the mighty Clarence River with Lower Clarence Rowing Club. That boat still leading from a Huon crew, which is moving up through this field. Huon, Eve Muir, Eleni Kalimnios, Sarah Hoare back with 2 blades in her hands, and Georgia Nesbitt, the lightweight, is selected as the Australian women's lightweight single sculler in the stroke seat there. Easily recognisable there in lane number 7. And they lead the crew out of lane number 4. Caitlin McPhail, Cara Griskoviak, Adriana Maruli and Lily Tinapple. Looks like Tinapple there in the 3 seat. Who was, of course, a very talented junior in the single. She went across to Stanford in the NCAA as part of the Pac-12 Conference of Champions over there. And back now sculling in this race. And she's been doing a fair bit in the sweep boats in recent times. But very good performance coming from this Huon boat as they start to reel in the Mercantile Sydney Rowing Club National Training Centre combination as we start to really fire things up in the last 250 metres of this one. In third is the Cara Griskoviak stroked Swan River Capital Lakes crew. And they're followed by the University of Queensland canned Melbourne University, and Melbourne University VIS are back in 5th position and unlikely to improve on that. So
certainly going quickly, the Huon crew, the defending champions on this side, having a real go at our race leaders on the far side. Yeah,
they certainly look like they've got a bit more flexibility to move up in the rating and getting that few extra strokes in this last couple of 100 metres has seen them move their bow into the lead and set to hold on to their title. So Huon National Training Centre and the Tasmanian Institute of Sport, stroked by Georgia Nesbitt, going to retain the Open Women's Quadruple Scull ahead of the early race leaders Sydney Mercantile, who claim the silver medal. Bronze goes to Swan River Capital Lakes and the National Training Centre. 4th will be the University of Queensland QAS, and they'll be followed by the Melbourne University crew in lane number 5.
So unofficially in race 421, the final of the Open Women's Quad Scull, Huon National Training Centre and Tasmanian Institute of Sport in 1st place. 2nd, Sydney and Mercantile from lane 3. 3rd place is the Swan River and Capital Lakes composite crew. 4th, the University of Queensland canned and Melbourne Uni combination. And 5th goes to Melbourne University on lane 5. The winning time there for Huon as they defend their national title, 6:41.07. They did it by 2.597, so around about a boat length in the Open Women's Quad Scull final. And we can go back down to the start line now for what looks like a match race here in the final of the Open Men's Coxed 8. 2 crews, both from the Sydney Rowing Club, in lanes 4 and 5. That'll be on their way shortly in race 422.
And we've just passed a relieved Stephen Graham in the grandstand, who was originally listed in this Sydney Rowing Club Men's 8, but his place has been taken in the crew out of lane number 5 by another Sydney Rowing Club member. So we'll be able to watch on from the luxury of the grandstand as these 2 Sydney Rowing Club boats go head-to-head at the Aon Sydney National Rowing Regatta 2019.
Pretty good crowd at the grandstand here too, Owen. It certainly has found up now a much nicer day than it looked like when we first got here several hours ago early this morning. But hopefully it continues for this afternoon. Sprint racing still to come, of course, after lunch break this afternoon. A number of 500-metre races to conclude today. And plenty of people, yes, watching on in the grandstands. The action up there on the big screen and being live streamed around the country and around the world. I think we're up to about 40,000 hits earlier today was the last number I heard. I'm sure it's bigger than that now. And welcome to everyone watching on the live stream. This could be an interesting race. Two crews from the Sydney Rowing Club on their way. But 2,000 metres here for the Open Men's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. So we know that Sydney Rowing Club will get the title, but which crew will it be? Furthest from the camera is Andrew Brown. In fact, we'll get the correct crew list here. Thank you, Owen, because there have been a couple of changes, it seems. It is on the far side. Andrew Brown, Kurt Spencer, Chris Morgan, Hamish McDonald, Max Brenner, Nathan Bowden, Oscar Carr Middleton, Oscar Olsen, and Kendall Brodie, the Australian men's 8 Cox in the Cox seat of that far crew. Franz Imfeld and Donovan Seck, the two coaches listed. And closer to the camera, Sydney Rowing Club again, Dylan Boakes, Charlie Patterson, Edward White, Michael Benerius, William O'Connell, Tom Gunton, Sam Hardy, and Josh Hicks, with Harry Keenan, the Cox of the Sydney crew, closest to the camera. And there's about a quarter of a length in it in the opening stages, with the lane 4 crew narrowly ahead of lane 5.
Yeah, you can see Sam Hardy on bow side there and Josh Hicks in the stroke seat. Those two back having studied at Harvard. And they're in the stern pairing of the combination in lane number 5, the Sydney Rowing Club crew. And down a few seats here in the early stage of this one. In the other boat, Kurt Spencer making a return to racing. Of course, a very, very talented Sydney Rowing Club junior that Phil Kayser, the late Phil Kayser, used to coach as a junior at Sydney Rowing Club. He's in the bow seat of that one and does a fair bit of surfboat rowing, and great to see him back on the very still water here at the Sydney International Regatta Centre. They lead through the first 500. 1:27.35, the Sydney Rowing Club crew out of lane number 4, as they lead the Josh Hicks stroke crew out of lane number 5.
Both crews powering along at about 38 strokes per minute still through the first 500 metre mark. The crew on the far side might have just dropped that a couple of points now, it seems, but they do hold the narrow advantage just over a second in this battle of the two crews from the Sydney Rowing Club.
And they have a very, very strong men's program at Sydney Rowing Club, headed up by their head coach, Donovan Seck. He's been there quite a few years now, and Franz Imfeld has recently joined coaching up there, and from Melbourne University. Previously he was at Molesey, where Sydney University's Phil Bourguignon is the man in charge there of the high performance club in Great Britain. And this race still only around about half to 3/4 of a length separating these two boats as they make their way up towards the 1100 metre mark. So 1.91 seconds through the halfway mark as the crew, with Oscar Olsen listed as the stroke man out of lane number 4, that leads from the Josh Hicks stroke crew out of lane number 5.
We're still getting both crews on 38 as they came through the 1,000 metre mark as well. So no crew letting up here. I'm sure there's plenty of intra-club pride at stake here as these 2/8s make their way now into the second 1,000 metres of the race, and still hard to separate them to the lane 4 crews. Just been narrowly in front right the way down the course, but unable to shake off this significant overlap with the lane 5 combination as well. And this one may yet come right down to a grandstand finish.
Yeah, so the crew at the top left of the screen is the crew coxed by Kendall Brodie, who made history as being the first Australian woman to cox a men's boat at World Championship level, and of course silver medalist from the World Championships last year. And then coming up through the 1,400 metre mark, the boat named after Ernie Chapman, former president of Sydney Rowing Club, Helsinki Olympian, bronze medalist in Helsinki. The late Ernie Chapman, who passed away a few years ago. He used to live in Wharf Road in Gladesville, which is the same street where the Shore School and Sydney Grammar boat sheds are, and he used to row a boat across to Sydney Rowing Club, and used to drive back after having a couple of drinks in the bar there in his latter years. The legendary Ernie Chapman. And the other boat named after another great Sydney Rowing Club man in John Coates AC, who's at this regatta here today. And a spirited last half of the race. You can see the pain face on Kurt Spencer there in the bow seat of the leading Sydney Rowing Club boat as we start to move down in towards the stroke seat. It looks like Nathan Bowden there in stroking it on the starboard side as Josh Hicks starts to really wind it up on the crew in lane number 5 as they try and pick off a couple of seats in the latter stage of this one and see if they can get a lead and maybe only need a lead by one in one stroke.
Exactly, they've got to get in front by the last stroke of the race. They're up to 39.5, almost 40 strokes per minute now. The lane 5 combination, who I think knew they needed to go. They were almost half a length behind as they came through 1,500 metres, and they are desperately trying to claw back some ground on the leading crew, the Kendall Brody Cox crew across there in lane 4. But that margin does look to be narrowing as they close in now on the final 130 metres of this race.
Yeah, so still the crew in lane number 4 that leads the crew, stroked by Nathan Bowden. And they're still managing to hold on, and they're up about only, I think, about 2 seats in this one. And a very strong finish coming from Josh Hicks. He knows how to wind it up. World champion in the 4, and Josh Hicks really, you can see, yanking that body home as he tries to get his crew over the top. It'll be the crew in lane number 4, stroked by Nathan Bowden, that takes the gold medal ahead of the crew containing Sam Hardy and Josh Hicks in lane number 5. So a great race put on by the 2 strong 8s from Sydney Rowing Club.
Yeah, just the 2 crews in it, but a great race. So all the way over 2,000 metres. They were never separated by more than half a length, these 2 crews. And the lane 5 combination came home at about 43 over the closing strokes as they desperately tried to claw back some ground, but didn't quite get there. Lane 4, the Sydney Rowing Club takes the win, and Sydney Rowing Club lane 5 in second place. Unofficially 5:55.82 the winning time there, and 0.97 seconds was the margin between them at the finish line. The presentation of medals for the Open Women's Quadruple Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Greg Melbourne, Counsellor, Rowing South Australia. In third place, and bronze medalists, a composite crew from the Swan River Rowing Club, Caitlin McPhail. From Capital Lakes, Cara Groskoviak. From Swan River, Adriana Maruli. And from Swan River, Lily Tinapple. In second place, and silver medalists, representing Mercantile, Madeline Thomas. Georgina Stewart. Katrina Bateman. And from Sydney Rowing Club, Leah Saunders. Crew was coached by Nicholas Mitchell and David Colvin. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, representing the Huon Rowing Club, National Training Centre and Tasmanian Institute of Sport, Eve Muir. Eleni Kalimnios. Sarah Hoare. And Georgia Nesbitt. Crew was coached by Paul Newbon and John Dreesen. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists. And they are racing now in the repechage, the one and only repechage of the under-17 schoolgirls coxed 8. 5 crews in the race. 4 will progress through to the final and join the crews that went through from the heats yesterday. So a field of 5, Radford College of the ACT in lane 3, Loretto Kirribilli from Sydney in 4, PLC Perth in 5, Geelong Grammar in 6, and Pymble Ladies from Sydney racing in lane 7.
And they just made their way through the 1,000-metre mark, and it was Pymble Ladies leading by a very slender margin over Loretto Kirribilli, just 0.38 of a second. It was a similar margin at the first 500 metres. And in third spot, we have PLC Perth. Radford College are in 4th, and Geelong Grammar a further 3.53 seconds back in 5th position. So 9 entries in this event, 4 qualified via the heats for the final directly. That was Queenwood, Loretto Tarak, MLCQ and Wesley College. And we'll see 4 crews here. The top 4 crews go through to the final, and 5th will be eliminated from the event. So Pymble Ladies College, very successful schoolgirl program in New South Wales. They're based out of Leichhardt Rowing Club, and they've been there for around about nearly 20 years now, when they signed a deal to rebuild there with Leichhardt Rowing Club, a great joint venture that was set up many, many years ago by the late Wade Hewitt. Barry Moynihan also involved there. Tim Clare, also another instrumental person in ensuring that Leichhardt Rowing Club and Pymble joined forces back around about the turn of the millennium. So they lead Loretto Kirribilli with the bright yellow blades in 2nd spot, and PLC Perth they're just narrowly ahead of Canberra Girls. Radford College, I should say, with the Canberra Girls coloured boat.
Just to confuse us, yes.
4th position, and Geelong Grammar. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, just there with the umpire's boat. They're back in 5th position as they start to make their way up through the 1,500 metre mark.
So just one crew to miss out, and yeah, Geelong Grammar there at the rear of the field. You'd have to think from there, almost certain to be that crew. The other 4 from here can just continue on their way, and they'll race again in the final tomorrow of the Under-17 Schoolgirls Coxed 8. Of course you are.
So it is all the Pymble Ladies that continue to lead coming into the last 350 metres from Loretto Kirribilli and PLC Perth. They've had a very good push as they try and move up into 2nd position. Having a good race there with Loretto Kirribilli. Radford College are in 4th place, and then followed by Geelong Grammar. See PLC Perth in the green colours on screen.
Several of the Pymble Ladies having a good look out at the other 3 crews, I think, just to make sure they are comfortably going to Bucharest. You can see they've got Geelong Grammar covered, so it's easy as far as the top 4 is concerned, but some interest still in how these places will sort themselves out.
Yeah, so still Loretto Kirribilli just narrowly ahead of PLC Perth, but it should go right down to the wire. And it'll decide which lanes they'll contest the final of the Under-17 Schoolgirl Coxed 8 tomorrow. So, as I mentioned, 4 going through via the heats. These top 4 to join them from this repechage. Pymble Ladies look set to take it out. They're coached by Aidan Smith, who's gone across as their boatman. Moved across from WA only about a year ago. And also William Noonan, the son of Steve Noonan, who's also assisting them with the coaching there. Pymble Ladies will take it out. Very close between Loretto Kirribilli and PLC Perth. And Kirribilli just hold on. And only by about 30 centimetres, Loretto Kirribilli claiming 2nd spot. PLC Perth 3rd. Radford College will be the last of the finalists from this repechage. And Geelong Grammar will place 5th.
So the one and only repechage of the Under-17 Schoolgirls Coxed 8. The top 4 through to the final. First place was Pymble Ladies in lane 7. 2nd place, Loretto Kirribilli. 2 schools from Sydney there in the top 2 spots. 3rd place, PLC Perth. 4th, Radford College from the ACT. And 5th place, missing out, will be Geelong Grammar. 7:16.18 the time there. And 1.86 seconds from 1st to 2nd, just 1700ths between Loretto Kirribilli in 2nd and PLC Perth in 3rd. You're cruel. All the Pymble Ladies.
Now's the time to put their hands up after the race is done. So we've got repechage number 1 of the Under-17 Schoolboy 8 next to come down.
But first, presentation of medals for the Open Men's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by David Bagnall, Councillor and President of Rowing Australian Capital Territory. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, representing the Sydney Rowing Club, Andrew Brown, Kurt Spencer, Christopher Morgan, Hamish McDonald, Max Brenner, Nathan Bowden, Oscar Carr-Middleton, Oscar Olsen, and Kendall Brody. Crew was coached by Franz Imfeld and Donovan Seck. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions. As the repechage of the under-17 schoolboys Coxed 8 reaches its conclusion, 5 crews in the race, 4 will move through to the A final. Scotch College in 3, Geelong Grammar in 4, Newington in 5, Wesley Lane 6 and Melbourne Grammar in 7, and Scotch and Newington our leading 2 crews.
And similar to the female equivalent event, with 4 crews qualifying via the heats and only 1 will be eliminated from this one, as we have Newington College leading Scotch College as we come into the last 250 metres. Newington were 3rd in their heat, and it was Shaw and Scots that went through directly. From the other heat, it was St Augustine's and Wesley, so 3 crews from New South Wales already through to the final. 1 Victorian crew, and these numbers are set to increase here as Newington lead Scotch College, and then followed by Melbourne Grammar School in 3rd spot and Geelong Grammar in 4th position.
Still desperately close here between these 2 crews. Scotch and Newington have been side by side most of the way down the course, and they still are now. Newington just in front.
And it looks like they might just hold on. It looks like we're going to have a final with 4 New South Wales crews, 4 crews from Victoria. So Newington take out the repechage. 2nd, Scotch College, and they'll be followed by Melbourne Grammar School and Geelong Grammar just leading the crew from Wesley. You were in 5th position, and around about 3/4 of a boat length of margin there in the latter stages of this one, and it will be Geelong Grammar that just hold on and claim that all-important 4th spot, and Wesley will be eliminated.
So unofficially in race 424, 1st place Newington, 2nd Scotch College Melbourne, 3rd Melbourne Grammar, 4th Geelong Grammar. Those 4 crews through to the final. Wesley will be eliminated in 5th position. The winning time there for Newington, 6:34.07, and they won it by 0.46 of a second from Scotch College. So first semi-final now of the club women's double scull. The first of 2 semi-finals in this club event. The Lane 8 crew not present, so a field of 7 here. Lane 1 Commercial, Lane 2 Sydney University, Lane 3 Swan River, Lane 4 Pine Rivers, Lane 5, the Corowa Club from Southern New South Wales. Lane 6, Australian Defence Force Rowing. And Lane 7, the Fremantle Rowing Club.
You see the drone just hovering over the bridge there, which is at the 750 metre mark. You can just see that at the middle pylon of the bridge where the camera vehicle is going over, and the athletes row under. They join from the warm-up lake to the competition lake, and the race being led by the crew from Swan River Rowing Club, Vivian Noonan, Elizabeth O'Callaghan, coached by Jack Fisher and Mark Beer, and they're out to Clearwater over the crew alongside of them. Gracie Wasson, Kira Stafford of Pine Rivers, and Sydney University's Alina Parrish and Emma Jalalati, coached by Debbie Fox, are up there in the mix. Also with Corowa, Julie Underwood, Amy Underwood, coached by Wesley Canny. Corowa, a very old club, I think 1863 they were founded, and based in southern New South Wales. They affiliate through Rowing Victoria.
Yeah, just north of the Murray, but they race a lot in Victorian regattas, the Corowa Club.
And had a very good last decade or so with quite a number of strong performances coming at national championships, and they're looking to qualify in the top 4 here to go through to the final of the club women's double scull. But Swan River leading through the halfway mark and ahead of Fremantle's Sarah Dwyn Ellis and Tanami Ashby Deering, coached by Tom Gatti. In fact, they were just behind Pine Rivers, and Corowa in 4th, and Sydney University over on the far side in 5th place. ADF Rowing, Elizabeth Stevens and Rachel Noonan. They're in 6th position. They're followed by Commercial over on the far side. Saggers and Townsend in 7th place. Just the 7 crews in this one.
She and Kira Stafford. You got to remember that. I had to call Corinne earlier today.
Well, and a big issue there for the crew, and that's the crew from Corowa. Just a big crab there, looked like on their bow side, and that has seen them move back through the field into 6th position. So they've left themselves with a fair bit of work to do, and they'll be hoping there's a bit of adrenaline kicks in and they're able to really fire that boat speed back up. But yeah, really bad time to happen in that third 500 metres because you start to run out of water.
Yeah, it'll be hard to recover from there, unfortunately, for Corowa. They need to get back into the top 4. Julie and Amy Underwood in that combination. Fremantle Lane 7, Caridwin Ellis, we believe, is the correct pronunciation. Thank you to Trish Burton, who was watching the live stream a couple of days ago, sending through some advice on the Welsh pronunciation. So we've had a few goes at that over the last few days. But Caridwin Ellis, we understand, Lane 7 for Fremantle there with Tanami Ashby Deering. And that Fremantle crew certainly in well placed to go through at about 3rd at this stage with the top 4 to qualify for the final in the club at women's double scull.
Are you saying Fremantle correctly? I haven't got any.
Losing track, yeah.
And coming through the 1,500 metre mark is the Swan River boat, Vivian Noonan and Elizabeth O'Callaghan, coached by Jack Fisher and Mark Beer. They are well clear. You can see Corowa at the bottom left of the screen that are still back in 6th position, and with a bit of work to do if they're probably about a couple of lengths down on Sydney University where they're in 5th. So starting to come through that 1,000 metre mark, 1,500 metre mark with Fremantle in 2nd, Pine Rivers in 3rd, ADF Rowing in 4th place, City University in 5th, and Corowa a further 4.5 seconds back. And then we go across to Commercial over on the far side of the course, more than 8 seconds back in 7th position. A little bit of a slight head breeze blowing here. It's only been blowing a head breeze for about a handful of races over the course of the regatta. And we're up to race 425. Not really worrying the Swan River boat, other than blowing the hair right in the face of the stroke person, but coming up into the last 250 metres and continuing their dominance of this semi-final, where 2 Western Australian crews look set to qualify. A few little steering changes from the ADF rowing crew in lane number 7. And likewise Corowa, as they're certainly had a race that they'll be able to talk about for a few years to come, I'm sure, this Corowa crew of Julie Underwood and Amy Underwood, and they're still trying to see if they can sneak into the final with a top 4 placing here. No B finals for these club women's double scull events, so it's either top 4 or starting to de-rig.
And they're still not without a chance, Corowa, but might just run out of water, unfortunately, after that mishap in the middle of the race, but probably still a length or so away from 4th spot.
Yeah, so Swan River still leading, and Pine Rivers and Fremantle are fighting it out for 2nd spot. Sydney University have started to move up on the ADF rowing crew in the latter stages of this one, and Corowa are also starting to move up on the ADF rowing crew, but Swan River claim the win. Fremantle set to make it a Western Australia 1-2. And they will claim 2nd spot. Pine Rivers 3rd. Sydney University have finished strongly to claim that all-important last qualification spot for the final. They place 4th, 5th to ADF rowing, 6th to the Corowa crew, who will be ruining that mishap in the 3rd 500, and 7th to Commercial from Brisbane, Queensland.
Thank you, Owen. I think it's due for a well-earned break. Lizzie Chapman to come in shortly as we have a change in commentary, but unofficially there in race 425. That was the first semi-final of the club women's double scull. 1st place, Swan River. 2nd, Fremantle. 3rd, Pine Rivers. And 4th place, Sydney University will move through to the final, and eliminated are the remaining 3 crews, ADF Rowing, Corowa and Commercial. 8:06.90, the unofficial winning time, and 11.4 seconds. So a big win indeed in that West Australian 1-2, Swan River over Fremantle. And the 2nd semi-final underway as well in the club women's double scull. 1st place, lane 1, I should say, Brisbane and GPS. Lane 2, Commercial. Lane 3, Barwon. Lane 4, Mossman. Lane 5, Melbourne. Lane 6, Banks. Lane 7, Griffith University, Surfers Paradise. And Lane 8, Brisbane and GPS. And in this 2nd semi-final, it is Griffith University, Surfers Paradise. Lane 7, Jade Mansell and Monique Bitsios, who are our race leaders at the 1,000-metre mark by just 0.79 of a second from Melbourne. In lane 5, Tanya Nishibata and Zoe Gamble. And then Banks, also of Melbourne, there in 3rd place, Bianca Litchfield and Jean Mitchell, ahead of Mossman from Sydney. That is Lucy Mason and Eleanor Disney. So those 4 at this stage are in the qualifying spots, as they're about to come through 1,500 metres. We'll get some updated splits there, and indeed the lead has extended slightly for the lane 7 combination from the Griffith University Surfers Paradise Club. The Lincoln Handley coach crew of Jade Mansell and Monique Bitsios, who've gone out to a bit over a length now from lane 5. Melbourne still there in 2nd place, Tanya Nishibata and Zoe Gamble. And Banks still there in 3rd, Mossman in 4th, so no change in any of the 8 places, in fact, from the 1,000-metre mark to the 1,500. Still Banks 3rd, Mossman 4th, Barwon then 5th, Brisbane and GPS both 6th and 7th. Lane 1 is in 6th place, that's Amelia Champion and Jordan Turner, and then lane 8 was in 7th, Kate Morris and Alexandria Morgan McDonald, 2 Brisbane and GPS crews at the extremities of the course, and in 7th place, also from Brisbane, the Commercial Club, Bronte Cathcart and Eloise Young, coached by John McGuinness at the Commercial Club, based on the Milton Reach of the Brisbane River. But it is the Griffith University Surfers Paradise combination from the Gold Coast on Queensland, who are up here by more than a boat length now. The Melbourne Rowing Club still there comfortably in 2nd place. In between those 2, Banks, Litchfield and Mitchell. And on the other side, Mason and Disney of Mossman would be in 4th place. They look to be the 4 qualifiers at this stage, with a couple of 100 metres still to race here in this 2nd semi-final of the club women's double scull. So the top 4 from the previous race will be joined by the top 4 from this race in the final of the club women's double scull, which will obviously take place on tomorrow's program, with club and school finals in the morning and the interstate regatta to look forward to in the afternoon as well. And certainly Jade Mansell and Monique Bitsios will go through with some pretty good form to the final of the club women's double scull. A big win coming up to them here as they're clear by over a length. It's a little bit of wind coming over the course now at the finish here, so not quite the perfect conditions we've had at Penrith here for almost 5.5 days now, but still fairly comfortable, and certainly comfortable for Jade Mansell and Monique Bitsios of Griffith University Surfers Paradise. Clear by 2 lengths now from Tanya Nishibata and Zoe Gamble of the Melbourne Rowing Club in second place. 2 lengths more back to lane 6, Bianca Litchfield and Jean Mitchell of the Banks Rowing Club, and Mossman's Lucy Mason and Eleanor Disney will take out 4th spot. They'll also move through to the final of the club women's double scull. It's been close between these 2 Brisbane and GPS doubles all the way down the course, but they're 7 lanes apart. It will be lane 1 in the end who gets up for 5th place, but that won't be enough for Amelia Champion and Jordan Turner. They finish 5th. Brisbane and GPS lane 8 will finish in 6th place. Close also for 7th and 8th, but it will be most likely Barwon 7th and then Commercial in 8th place in the club women's double scull semi-final as we welcome back Lizzie Chapman.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. So confirming the results of the second semi-final of the club women's double scull, going through to the final, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. In second, Melbourne Rowing Club. In third, Banks Rowing Club. And in fourth, Mossman Rowing Club. And now eliminated from the event are in 5th place, Brisbane and GPS. In 6th, Brisbane and GPS. So, sorry, the first one was Champion and Turner. The next one, Morris and Morgan McDonald. In 7th, Commercial. And in 8th, Barwon. Winning time, 8 minutes 30.62 seconds. The margin, 7.04, 6.85 and 4.45. Race number 427 on our programme is the repechage of the club women's coxless 4. The first 4 will progress through to the final. In lane 1, ANU, Rachel Kelo and Jacqueline Williams, Sarah Edwards and Emily Caudle. In lane 2, ANU, Adair Ferguson, Kerry Nola, Selena Rowland and Dion Grant. In lane 3 from Sydney, Mia Thomas, Kirsten Luton, Brianna Caputo and Lauren Lyon. The crew from Western Australian Rowing Club has scratched. Melbourne University in lane 5, B. Klein van Mullecom, Peter Rack, Samantha Beveridge and Justine Tonner-Joyce. In lane 6 from Melbourne University, Alex Somerville, Alice Churnside, Laura Foley and Samantha Caday. And in lane 7, the University of Western Australia, Lydia Almeida, Jamie Park, Emily Hoare and Abby Kozlowska. Got a mixture of masters, schoolgirls and, and in-betweenies.
A hot field, a couple of great names from the past there too,
yes.
Lizzie and Adair Ferguson and Kerry Nola, of course, rowing together in that Australian National University crew on lane 2.
And I think there's a couple there in lane 5 from Melbourne University Boat Club as well. Great to see everybody mixing in and coming in and having a go.
And that's what these club events are for. Of course, they are designed for those without aspirations to be on an Australian team, at least in the recent past or the immediate future. And they are restricted to entries from single clubs only, so no composite crews in the club events. This is the one and only repechage of the club women's coxless 4. So we're down to a field of 6 now with the lane 4 combination scratching from the race. And it is certainly Melbourne University, lane 5, the crew on screen there. And certainly going through a little bit of choppy water there. They're both the Kim Crow the second, in fact, it looks like. I won't ask what happened to the first one, but Melbourne University racing in the Kim Crow. Lizzie, I know you've been checking out the weather forecast and have spent a bit of time outside just to make sure the conditions will remain good. What are we looking forward for this afternoon?
And unfortunately, I wasn't able to influence them. So we have got a forecast of increasing winds. So just a reminder to coaches, please, to tie down your boats. Make sure your blades are stacked away neatly. And if you've got bicycles, please make sure they're put somewhere where they're not going to fall over and break any boats. And just a quick call, please. The ladies in the bow number shed are really beside themselves. We really need bow numbers to be returned, please, to Bay 4.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Lizzie. So Melbourne University still leading here in lane 5. And you can just see the difference out there on the water. Plenty of, even a few white caps and plenty of blades getting caught on the water as these crews make their way down through the final 500 metres of this race now. So hopefully the conditions won't get any worse over the rest of the day. But Melbourne University, despite the rough water, not being overly troubled. They're clear by a couple of lengths. That lane 5 combination of Bayer, Klein van Mallicum, Peter Rack, Samantha Beveridge and Justine Tonner-Joyce.
You'd be interested to know that the lady who's in the stroke seat of this crew in lane 5, stroking it so beautifully, is a psychologist who actually works with sports people for crossing the line sport. That's the lady Justine Tonner-Joyce there in the stroke seat, doing a great job. She looks so calm, doesn't she? Good technique despite that increasingly rough water.
Yep, it's just a challenge to make your way through these slightly uneven conditions. Not what they're used to, of course, after virtually a week of flat water here at Penrith. And just steering a little off course there. Now we've said nice things about Melbourne University, just struggling slightly to keep their boat straight. But they're still well clear here in lane 5. They've got a couple of lengths on Sydney Rowing Club, who'd be in second over in lane 3. That's Mia Thomas, Kirsten Luton, Brianna Caputo and Lauren Lyon. And then over to the far side of the course, the Australian National University 2 crews in this race. And that's the crew of Rachel Kilo, Jacqueline Williams, Sarah Edwards, Emily Caudle, who'd be in 3rd place in the second ANU combination. The star-studded crew, Adair Ferguson, Kerry Nola, Selena Rowland and Dion Grant. Or else possibly Melbourne Uni on this side, Alex Somerville, Alex Churnside, Laura Foley and Samantha Caday. But it's a top 4 only to move through, and it will be the 4 crews, I would think, over on the far side of the course, being led still very comfortably by the Melbourne University Boat Club on lane 5 as they take their last stroke now and come across the line for the win in the Club Women's Coxless 4 repechage. So Melbourne University first. Second will be lane 3, the crew from the Sydney Rowing Club, and then 2 crews from the Australian National University. Lane 1 will finish in 3rd place. Lane 2 will be 4th, and they are the qualifiers through to the final of the Club Women's Coxless 4. The next 2 will be eliminated. It is Melbourne University lane 6 in 5th place, and University of Western Australia lane 7, who will finish in 6th.
Yeah, so the old wise heads of, or less of the old, the mature wise heads of Melbourne University Boat Club crossing the line in 1st position over the youngsters from Sydney Rowing Club. And in 3rd position, ANU, the crew stroked by Emily Caudle. In 4th position, the ANU crew stroked by Dion Grant. Those 4 progress through to the A final, and the remainder are eliminated, Melbourne University and University of WA. Now, for what it's worth, the time 8:59.25, but I suspect that doesn't compare with previously, given that the wind has risen as much as it has. So nice steady head breeze.
It is indeed, yes, just making it slightly more challenging for the rowers out there, especially in the smaller boats with the double sculls now on the course as well, Lizzie.
The club men's double scull, indeed. We've got a couple of repechages here. In the first one, Fremantle are in lane 3, Liam Davis and Jack Sheriff. In lane 4, Melbourne Uni's Shane Hoare and Sebastian Francis. In lane 5 from Adelaide Rowing Club, Jack Nilsson and Till Wickman. In lane 6 from Banks, Tom Radder and Daniel Parrish. And in lane 7 from ANU, Douglas Horn and Tom Anglim Lagones.
And a clear top 2 here in this first repechage of the club men's double scull. At least at this stage of the race, with less than 400 metres now to row. Melbourne University, Shane Hoff and Sebastian Francis, coached by Matthew Ryan. And on the camera side of the course, the Australian National University, lane 7, Douglas Horn and Tom Anglim Lagones would be comfortably in 2nd place. They're a fair bit behind our race leaders. It was almost 7 seconds to Melbourne Uni at 1500. But more importantly for ANU, they had 12.5 seconds on Adelaide Rowing Club, who are back in 3rd. That's Nilsson and Wickman of Adelaide. Then Fremantle, Davis and Sheriff, and Radder and Parrish of the Banks Rowing Club. But the last 3 will miss out. 2 only through to the final from this first repechage of the club men's double scull, and 2 more from the race to follow the second repechage In fact, already well underway, well past the 500-metre mark is the second repechage as well. But the first one is nearing its conclusion, and for the second race in a row, we're seeing a very comfortable lead to a combination from the Melbourne University Boat Club. This time around, it's Shane Hoff and Sebastian Francis, who are dealing with this choppy water. Certainly better than the remaining crews in the race, and seem relatively untroubled there on lane 4 as they start to approach the red buoys of the last 100 metres of the course. So the Melbourne University Boat Club comfortably in front. The Australian National University there in second place. Fremantle over on the far side look to have third place in their keeping, but that won't be enough for a spot in the final. Adelaide next, and Banks well back in the field on lane 6. So about 50 metres to go for our race leaders from the Melbourne University Boat Club. Shane Hoff and Sebastian Francis, who train, of course, on the Yarra River in Melbourne out of the MUBC boat sheds. And they're across now to take the win in the first repechage of the club men's double scull. Second place to the Australian National University combination on lane 7, Douglas Horn and Tom Anglem-Lagones. And then third place will be back to lane 3, Liam Davis and Jack Sheriff of Fremantle. But top 2 only through to the final, so Fremantle eliminated along with Adelaide in 4th place and Banks, who will finish in 5th in the first repechage of the club men's double scull.
And the time then, 9 minutes 13 seconds, showing how much the wind has picked up. We move now to the second repechage of the club men's double scull. We have another crew from Melbourne University Boat Club in lane 2, Jeffrey Rees and Peter Anthony. In lane 3, Sydney University Boat Club's Harrison Rouston and Zachary Noble. In lane 4 from Banks, Bowen Hafey and Angus Thornton. In lane 5 from UTS, Mark Doyle and Benjamin Wisdom. In lane 6 from Pine Rivers, Colin Chapman and Henry Borgia, and in lane 7 from Mossman Rowing Club, Max Durham and Justin Brown.
So the second repechage of the club men's double scull is race 429, and it's the University of Technology Sydney leading here on lane 5. Mark Doyle and Benjamin Wisdom ahead of Banks in lane 4. Bowen Hafey and Angus Thornton, our top 2. 7 seconds more than that between our top 3. But then getting close for third. Sydney University in 3rd place, and Melbourne University in 4th place. As Lizzie said, Peter Anthony in that boat, another former Australian rower, of course, an Olympic Games gold medalist from the Barcelona Games way back in 1992.
Hey, less of the way back. Boy.
Well, way back for some. I remember the Barcelona Games, Lizzie, so don't worry, it's not that long ago. It was an Olympia Aldersey who was born during the Barcelona Games too, I believe, and that's why she was given the name Olympia. So, yes, that's a way to make you feel old. But Peter Anthony and Stephen Hawkins winning the double scull in the Barcelona Games. But I don't think he's likely to go through in this event, because Melbourne University, he's racing there with Jeffrey Rees over in lane 2, and they are back in 4th place at this stage of the race.
And I bet this is when they're thinking, what was I thinking? I should be in that lovely Row Union bar up there on the top of the hill.
Exactly right. Yes, you. It is probably the best place to be today, apart from here in the top of the finish tower. But the Row Union marquee open and doing a roaring trade. Absolutely, yes. And we'll go along and help them out.
Please don't drink it dry, folks.
Sure.
Please don't drink it dry. We're ready to come too. You can see now from the footage on the screens how carefully the scullers are picking their way through what is quite rough water, really, and the wind has swung around and is now a direct headwind, so hence the time slowing down as much as they have. So now is really important for them to get those blades locked in the water and really use the legs, the big strong group of muscles in the legs to move that boat.
I heard you talking about Peter. Did you talk about Jeffrey?
And Jeffrey Rees in the boat with Peter Anthony, was a world champion from 1974. Can I say way back in 1974, Lizzie? I'm not sure. That officially is way back. So a very well-credentialed crew. They're a world champion and an Olympic gold medalist for Melbourne University, but they're not going to go through in this race. It'll be UTS, Mark Doyle and Benjamin Wisdom, and they are very, very comfortably in front with Sydney Uni. It'll be in second place. So the lane 5 combination approaches the line for the University of Technology Sydney. They take the win, and also through to the final with them go Harrison Roston and Zachary Noble of the Sydney University Boat Club in second place. Third will be Banks in a few strokes time, and fourth then probably Pine Rivers. In fact, on this side, Colin Chapman and Henry Borgia get the best of the crew on the far side from Melbourne University, Jeffrey Rees and Peter Anthony, who've done many, many laps of this and other courses around the world. They'll finish in 5th position.
Just great to see guys like this coming back.
61 and 65 years of age.
So, yes, in their 60s and showing us how to do it, picking their way neatly through there. The final time for the winning crew, UTS, was 9 minutes 16.79. The crew to come second, Sydney University, the margin 10.93. Those two crews progressed through to the final. Banks were third, in fourth Pine Rivers, in fifth Melbourne University. They progressed to the Row Union Bar.
I bet they'll be happy with that too, given what they had to put up with over that the conditions in that race, at least.
Fortunately, with the wind having got up, the wooden boat will probably not.
So a few more repêchages here. The first, the club men's coxless 4. So a few more people in the boat here makes it a little bit easier because you can get a bit more momentum. We've got Melbourne University in lane 1, the Australian Defence Force Academy in lane 2. In lane 3, a crew from Banks. In lane 4, the Australian Defence Force rowing group. In lane 5, Tasmania University. In lane 6, another crew from the Australian Defence Force rowing club. In lane 7, UTS, and in lane 8, the Australian Defence Force Academy.
Thanks, Lizzie. And it is race 4:30, the club men's coxless 4. UTS here leading from Tasmania University and Melbourne University. Just finishing off on the career of Peter Anthony, since we've been busily reading Wikipedia while that race was going on. He actually first went to the Olympics in 1988 and stroked the men's quad to 5th place. Then, of course, the gold medal with Stephen Hawkins in the men's double scull in 1992, which, if I recall correctly, they were both lightweights at the time too, rowing in the open weight division. Went to the Atlanta Olympics as well in a double scull, and was also a reserve for the Sydney 2000 games on this very course, and that was not that long ago, Lizzie, because I was here. So it.
So was I.
Exactly. So it's gone quickly, those 19 years, but a great career of Peter Anthony, and great to see him still out there on the course.
Certainly is.
Closing stages here of the club men's coxless 4 repechage. 2 crews well clear are UTS and Tasmania University, but 4 will go through. Also Melbourne Uni currently on the far side will be 3rd. Banks in 4th place. Then 2 crews from Australian Defence Force rowing, currently sitting 5th and 6th, so not outside the qualifying spots, but only just. And then the Australian Defence Force Academy, also with 2 crews in this race, would be 7th and 8th. But a good race between our leading 2 crews here, Tasmania University and UTS, the red boat there of Tasmania University. The colours of UTS on this side of the course, they're really going for the finish too. They're both going to move through to the final, but look at these 2 crews race down to the line. UTS ever so slightly in front. Tasmania University are coming at them late, and they might get there. That is very close, and I've learnt not to make calls when it's as close as that. That is definitely a photo for the win in the club men's coxless 4, but certainly they'll both go through. Tasmania University and the University of Technology Sydney. 3rd place on the far side, Melbourne University will join them in the final, and 4th the crew from the Banks Rowing Club. So 2 Victorian crews over there on the far side through to the final of the club men's coxless 4. And then we have the crews from ADF Rowing, who in lane 4 will finish in 5th position. And it looks like lane 6, also from ADF Rowing, will finish in 6th place, so just outside the qualifying spots. And then 2 crews from the Australian Defence Force Academy on opposite sides of the course. The lane 8 course, there's a couple of steering difficulties there as they came within sight of the presentation pontoon, but they've straightened up now. Still a bit close to the boys on their bow side, I would think, but coming back now to the centre of their lane. They'll be 7th and 8th, these 2 crews from the Australian Defence Force Academy. Lane 8 should get across for 7th place, and lane 2 will finish in 8th, and we still await the results of that photo, which I suspect will come through after all the crews are across the line, but it was very close between Tasmania University and UTS. You had the best view of that finish, Lizzie. Do you know? Who do you think it was?
Absolutely
Not a
not
clue?
neck and neck, no.
That makes 2 of us.
No, and it's 4 to progress through. So at least we know that both Tasmania University and UTS will progress through to the final. Going through with them will be Melbourne University Boat Club and Banks. And now, here we go. UTS won by 0.07 in a time of 7 minutes 52.64. It's not bad a time. And the margin 0.07 over Tasmania University. Another 16.98 back to Melbourne University, and then 7.48 seconds back to Banks. 5th, the ADF rowing crew in lane 4. 6th was the ADF rowing crew in lane 6. 7th was the Australian Defence Force Academy in lane 8, and 8th, the Australian Defence Force Academy crew in lane 2. Right, we are going back to schoolgirl racing. We have a semi-final. I'm sure it will be exciting. I'm sure it will be noisy. Lane 1, Walford Anglican. Lane 2, St Catherine's School from Victoria. Lane 3, Scotch College, Adelaide. Lane 4, St Catherine's School, Victoria. Lane 5, MLCQ. Lane 6, Genazzano. Lane 7, Geelong Grammar. Lane 8, Melbourne Girls Grammar. So 2 St Catherine's School Victoria crews. The first is stroked by Charlotte Murdoch. That's the one in lane 2. The second is stroked by Henrietta Patterson. That's the crew in lane 4.
Yes, the first of 2 semi-finals in the schoolgirls coxed. Always great racing these events. And the school crews have come from far and wide to race here at Penrith, and they're through now to the last 16 and about to become the last 8 in this schoolgirls coxed 8 first semi-final. 1 to 4 through to the final. St Catherine's School, that is, yes, St Catherine's Melbourne, as Lizzie explained. 2 crews in the race. The lane 4 combination, our race leaders. St Catherine's were the national champions of 3 years ago, I think it was, 2016. They narrowly beat Loreto Turak in a very close finish. So St Catherine's lane 4, Geelong Grammar over in lane 7, who are the Victorian Head of the River champions from last weekend. And MLCQ there in 3rd place, another Victorian crew, and they were the winners of the Head of the Schoolgirls regatta on the Bowen River a couple of weeks ago, although MLCQ with 2 crews across the 2 semis. I'm not quite sure which of those will be their first 8s, but this crew is obviously seated to the middle lane as a heat winner, so it may well be the crew here in semi-final 1. And then Scotch College Adelaide there in 3rd place. Genazzano from Melbourne as well. Walford Anglican School, their Melbourne Girls Grammar, and St Catherine's School in lane 2. Their second crew on this race sits back in 8th place, and you can see from that shot there, St Catherine's really the only one without a chance, you would think, of making the final 4. But 3 crews have gone clear at the head of the field. That's Geelong Grammar, MLCQ and St Catherine's Melbourne. And then a great race for 4th place as they approach the second 1,000 metres. So Geelong Grammar exactly 3:48 through halfway. Just over a second from MLCQ from Melbourne, who've moved up into second place now. And then St Catherine's in 3rd, Genazzano 4th. So the Victorian crews, Lizzie, at this stage sitting at 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Pretty impressive, isn't it? Such strength in depth in school rowing in Victoria. Just talking to Joe Joyce, the president of Victorian Rowing, about that earlier on today. Really strong.
Yeah, it is a great.
Both boys
I was
and
at
girls.
the head of the schoolgirls regatta in Geelong, which is just such a massive event every year. I think it's the biggest single gender regatta in the southern hemisphere of the world or something. It's a huge event. It goes for 3 days. There's as many races in 3 days as we have here in a week. They're 4 minutes apart, and it's a 4-lane course on the Bowen River, and it's just magnificent for spectators because you've got a bike path down either side. You've got cheering crowds, lined up along the 1,000-metre course that most of them are over. It's just a fantastic event.
Sounds incredible. Do they ever get overseas visitors, overseas schools?
No, it's Victorian schools only. So and there's enough of those to fill it up. Otherwise, it'd be a week-long event. So it's hard enough to fit the racing into 3 days.
And I know he's listening. Does Roger Wilson do the commentary?
Roger, of course, yes. No, Roger is there. Roger's been there each of the 34 years of the head of the schoolgirls. It began in the mid-'80s. It's now at Ballarat the first couple of years, now held in Geelong. It's a huge event, and I was lucky enough to work with Roger over a couple of the days of this year's regatta as well.
Fantastic.
And the Geelong Grammar crew, it is now, who are showing out in front there in lane 7 as well. They were the head of the river winners at Melbourne, so a different event. The head of the river in Victoria is just for the APS schools, so the 10, I think it is APS schools who race. Most of them are co-educational schools now, so they have a girls' 8 as well as a boys' 8. The boys' 8 was won by Scotch College, and the girls' 8 by Geelong Grammar. So Geelong Grammar, the head of the river champions. MLCQ in lane 5, the head of the schoolgirls champions, a couple of lanes across, and there's certainly 2 of our crews in the top 2 spots, and then further across to St Catherine's in 3rd place. And those 3 have been well clear for quite a distance now. They look almost certain to qualify. The real interest behind them is who can get 4th spot. There's Melbourne Girls Grammar School on lane 8, Genazzano lane 6, and then across to the other side, Walford lane 1, and also Scotch College Adelaide. So 2 South Australian schools there out in the far side. And Walford also were the national champions 2 years ago. So 2017, Walford the winners of this event. I think it was Pinball Ladies last year, Walford in 2017 and St Catherine's in 2016. So plenty of crews with a strong history here in the schoolgirls 8. But Geelong Grammar looking good in the closing strokes.
Yeah, and powering ahead there, those crews in the middle of the field. The Geelong Grammar School crew is Flora McKenzie, Sophie Ward, Millie Friday, Emma Kent, Sarah McTaggart, Olivia Moore, Brooke Pithy, Maddie Atkins, and their cox, of course, Meg Watkins.
Meg Watkins doing a good job keeping them on a straight course down towards the finish line now. About 100 metres to go, and Geelong Grammar are well clear. They've got over a length now on MLCQ in 2nd place. St Catherine's, who led early, they'll still go through in 3rd place, so they'll comfortably qualify for the final. The interest in 4th place, and it's 2 crews, of course, on opposite sides of the course. Walford Anglican lane 1, Melbourne Girls Grammar on this side. It'll come from those 2, I would think, ahead of Scotch College Adelaide. But Geelong Grammar lane 7 will get the win. They'll go through to a middle lane in the A final of the schoolgirls coxed 8, about a length and a half ahead of MLCQ in 2nd place. A similar margin back to St Catherine's, who will finish 3rd. Then Walford the far side, chased by Melbourne Grammar on this side of the course, but the Walford crew looks to have their boat in front there, that distinctively dark-coloured boat on lane 1, and they are clear by what's almost a boat length, in fact, as they close in on the finish line. So Walford Anglican from the outside lane will take the last spot from this semi in the final of the schoolgirls coxed 8. 5th place goes to Melbourne Girls Grammar School. 6th place, then lane 3, Scotch College of Adelaide. 7th will be lane 6, the crew from Genazzano in Melbourne. And 8th place, the 2nd crew from St Catherine's in Melbourne.
Recapping the results then, the first semi-final of the schoolgirls coxed 8Cs going through to the final. Geelong Grammar in 1st position, MLCQ 2nd, St Catherine's School, Victoria 3rd, and Walford Anglican 4th. Now, going to the B final will be Melbourne Girls Grammar, who were 5th, Scotch College, Adelaide 6th, Genazzano 7th, and St Catherine's School, Victoria 8th. The time, 7 minutes 49.88 seconds. In the 2nd semi-final, we have another crew from Geelong Grammar in lane 1. This is the one stroked by Millie McCurdy. Melbourne Girls Grammar are in lane 2. MLCQ, a crew stroked by Philippa Burns, is in lane 3. Geelong College, stroked by Kate Dowling, is in lane 4. Pinball Ladies College from Sydney in lane 5. Loretto Tarak in lane 6. Seymour College in lane 7. And Collegiate, which I think is Derwent Mercantile Collegiate, is in lane 8.
So collegiate, yes, the crew from Tasmania there in lane 8. But it's the Pymble ladies once again who are leading here. They are the defending national champions in the schoolgirls coxed 8, and they are well clear here already in the middle stages of this race. They are through 1,000 metres now, and Pymble led it by 5.28 seconds over Loretto Turak in second place. Mentioned before they were narrowly beaten for the win 3 years ago by St Catherine's. So Loretto Turak second, Geelong College third. They were second in the Victorian Head of the River last weekend behind their old rivals from Geelong Grammar in the battle of the Geelong schools. So they sit in a qualifying spot as well.
Yeah, and at the New South Wales Schoolgirl Head of the River, this Pymble crew came second to Queenwood, having beaten them, I believe, previously in the season. So a good crew, well drilled, very experienced, coached by the experienced head of rowing there, Simon Pennington, and the lightweight international, Jeff Patterson.
And beaten by just 0.29 of a second. That must have been an incredible race between Queenwood and Pymble ladies.
And I'm sure Pymble ladies want another go at them, which is...
Yes, I could imagine. So Queenwood not in the field for the schoolgirls coxed 8. So the hopes of New South Wales rest on Pymble Ladies College, it would seem, against a number of Victorian crews who are going to go through to this final. Geelong College have now moved up, I think, past Loretto Turak into second place. So Geelong College second, Loretto Turak and the Blue Boat just out of shot there in third place. Then Melbourne Girls Grammar School, fourth place on lane 2. Seymour College from South Australia would be in fifth place. Collegiate, the Tasmanian crew, in sixth. MLCQ in seventh place. So as we thought, that's probably their second crew with their top crew in the previous race. And Geelong Grammar, lane 1 in eighth place. Also 2 crews in the event, and they won the previous semi-final. So the interest in the top 4 spots to work out the last 4 semi-finals in the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 Championship of Australia race tomorrow morning. Pymble ladies certainly will have the chance to defend their title. They are very comfortably clear here by more than a length. Geelong College impressive over the second half of this race. They've certainly moved well up into second place. Definitely clear of Loretto Turak and Seymour College alongside them, finishing pretty strongly as well. And out on the far side, Melbourne Girls Grammar School would be fourth at this stage, but Seymour are chasing hard, and Loretto have to keep moving as well to stay inside the top 4 here. But Pymble ladies, the crew from Sydney, who were narrowly beaten at the head of the river, but they're the defending national champions, and they're going to go through and take a centre lane alongside Geelong Grammar from the previous semi-final. A great race for the minor placings. Loretto have lifted and have gone out after Geelong College as well. Seymour College from Adelaide really throwing everything at these crews in the closing strokes as they try to move through. A Melbourne Girls Grammar School desperately fighting on the far side as well. So Pymble ladies will take the win surely on the centre of the course. They've got clear water on the rest of the field, but then it's Geelong College, Loretto Turak, who look like they'll both go through. Melbourne Girls Grammar School desperately fighting on with Seymour College on this side back in fifth, and they might be the crew to miss out. Pymble ladies go across and take the win. Geelong College will finish in second place. Third will be lane 2, the Melbourne Girls Grammar School. The Blue Boat of Loretto Turak will finish in fourth, and they'll go through ahead of fifth place Seymour College from South Australia. Sixth in lane 8 without the bow number, the Collegiate crew from Tasmania. Seventh will be lane 3, that's MLCQ, and eighth on the far side, the second crew from Geelong Grammar. But another great semi-final in the Schoolgirls Coxed 8. We look forward to that final tomorrow, Lizzie.
Hope you're enjoying the commentary, Roger Wilson. You've trained him up really well. Our second semi-final, an exciting race there. Pymble Ladies College taking out the win in the second semi-final in the Schoolgirls Coxed 8. And you can hear their signature tune playing behind me. Second place, Geelong College. Third, Melbourne Girls Grammar. And fourth, Loretto Turak. Those 4 crews progress through to the A final. Fifth, Seymour College. Sixth, Collegiate. Seventh, MLCQ. And eighth, Geelong Grammar. They progress to the B final. The time for that race was 8:01.59. The wind still lifting. The previous race was 7:49.87.
So interesting, Lizzie. Yes, Roger taught us well that time's been nothing in rowing, but a 12-second difference between 2 consecutive semi-finals is significant. So Pymble ladies in the second, but Geelong Grammar the quicker time in the first semi-final.
Yeah, make sure you join us tomorrow for what's shaping up to be some exciting racing. Let's have a look now at who will be in the final of the schoolboys coxed tomorrow morning. In lane 1 now, Scotch Oakburn from Tasmania, of course. In lane 2, Christchurch. In lane 3, Shaw. In lane 4, Geelong Grammar. In lane 5, Scotch College Victoria, stroked by Marcus Cameron. In lane 6, Nudgee College. In lane 7, Scotch College Victoria, stroked by Leo Price. In lane 8, Hutchins from Tasmania.
So 2 semi-finals now of the schoolboys coxed 8, and if it's anything like the girls' race, these should be great races as well. Scotch College from Victoria out in front with the race lead. They are the head of the river winners from Victoria, and alongside them, the head of the river winners from Queensland in Nudgee College in lane 6, and they are our top 2 crews. It was a dominant season in Victoria for Scotch College, and the same in Queensland for Nudgee College. Undefeated over the course of the regatta season. They won their 6th title in the past 7 years on Lake Warralong a couple of weeks ago. The crew coached by John Bowes, as they have been for many years, and they were national champions here in 2015, Nudgee College. And Scotch College were the winners a couple of years ago in 2017. So again, 2 crews or 2 schools with a great history of success here at the National Championships. But Scotch well clear of Nudgee now, 6.55 seconds. So a significant margin to them as they come through with less than 400 metres now to row. Also, Christchurch in this race too. We must correct the record from the other day. We did say they were a school from Melbourne. They are, of course, a school from Perth, the Christchurch Grammar School, and they were the winners of the West Australian Head of the River, although I think it's the crew in the next race, the lane 5 combination from Christchurch, the crew that beat Nudgee in their heat a couple of afternoons ago. So 2 crews in the race from the Christchurch Grammar School over in Perth, but some work to do to qualify for the combination in this race, because Scotch are well clear from Nudgee, and then most likely Shaw and Geelong Grammar lanes 3 and 4 look to be the other qualifying crews. Hutchins lane 8. And Scotch College Melbourne again with 2 crews in the race in lane 7, but they'll do well to go through from there, as will the Christchurch and Scotch Oakburn crews on the far side of the race. Scotch Oakburn, of course, the school from Launceston in Tasmania. So Scotch College Melbourne with 2 crews in the race, and one will definitely go through commandingly in front. They're about to hit the red boys of the last 100 metres, but they're well clear of Nudgee College from Queensland in that distinctive blue-coloured boat. Then it would be the Shaw School from Sydney, who are the New South Wales Head of the River winners. So we've actually got all 3 winners here in the same semi-final, it seems, and the Victorians will get up over the Queenslanders and New South Wales, it seems. Scotch College Melbourne take the win in the first semi of the schoolboys coxed 8. Scotch College first, Nudgee College will be second, third then the Shaw School, and 4th will be Geelong Grammar. Narrowly as the crew in lane 8 flies home, but left their run just too late. That's the Hutchins School. They will be 5th and just miss out. They'll go to the B final, but Geelong Grammar hang on, and 3 more still to come home. The second crew from Scotch College will finish in 6th place. And on the far side, Scotch Oakburn in 7th place and Christchurch in 8th.
So going through to the final, the A final, the crew from Scotch College Victoria, stroked by Marcus Cameron. In 2nd position, Nudgee College. In 3rd, Shaw. And in 4th, Scotch Oakburn from Tasmania. Then going through to the B final will be the crew from Hutchins of Tasmania, who are 5th. Scotch College Victoria, who are 6th. And Christchurch, WA. I've missed somebody out there. Scotch Oakburn.
Launceston was 7th, Christchurch, West Australia in 8th. And that time, Lizzie, 7:00:27 gives you some idea of the strength of the wind out there.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, not uncommon for schoolboy 8s to go well under 6 minutes. So a 7-minute time, assuming that is accurate, and there's no reason to think it's not. That is a lot of a headwind.
Slower. It is. Okay, our second semi-final, we have Wesley College in lane 1, Geelong College in lane 2, St Joseph's, New South Wales in lane 3, Brighton Grammar in lane 4, Christchurch in lane 5, St Peter's College in lane 6, Melbourne Grammar in lane 7, and Xavier College in lane 8.
So, yes, we had the champions in the previous race of the Queensland, New South Wales and Victorian heads of the river. And in this race, we have the winners from the West Australian and South Australian events as well, both of which took place last Saturday. Christchurch were the winners over in Perth on the Champion Lakes course that, of course, will host the Australian Masters Rowing Championships in a couple of months' time. You heard Ray's discussion this morning about that, and I know he's looking forward to that regatta over in the West. And then St Peter's College from Adelaide, Lane 6, have been the dominant school in South Australian rowing for a while, and they took another Head of the River title home at West Lakes last weekend, and they've come here looking for a national title as well. But some work to do for St Peter's in Lane 6. They're not in shot there at the moment. The race is on between Brighton Grammar and Christchurch Grammar in the centre of the course. Brighton Grammar, of course, Roger Wilson's old school, and I know Roger's listening because he's sending through plenty of messages. So your old school doing well on this one, despite the fact they've got no bow number on there. But Lane 4 and Lane 5, Brighton Grammar and Christchurch Grammar School from Western Australia, the comfortable top two in this semi-final of the Schoolboys Coxed 8.
Yeah, all of these lack of bow numbers. Just a reminder, please do return your bow numbers, coaches, as soon as the crew has finished racing. Take them round to Bay 4. If the bow number gets lost, please let them know so that we can do something overnight to actually get some bow numbers as we progress through the regatta. And as usual, looking at the video footage, if you're on a bicycle, please remember in New South Wales it is law to wear a helmet, even here at SIRR. So please put your helmet on.
Yep, sage advice as always from Lizzie Chapman as they're well through the 1,000-metre mark on towards the 1,500 now, and Brighton Grammar just look to be extending on Christchurch as they disappear out of shot now. Lane 7, Melbourne Grammar closest to the camera. They'd be third place in a qualifying spot along with St Joseph's Sydney in Lane 3. They look to be the four crews at this stage of the race. But still plenty of distance remaining on the course here. So Brighton Grammar School there in front. That's Tom Banfield, Henry Armstrong, Brock Jackson, Callum McPeak, Harrison Kirkham, Joshua Bortolucci, Jacob Williams, Martin Kalisa, and Charlie Durkin, coached by Nicholas Lloyd. It's the crew beaten into second place up by Scotch in the Melbourne Head of the River. And Christchurch beside them, the winners of the West Australian Head of the River, Isaac Hamilton, Jackson Bergsma, Tom Newton, Lucas Gribble, Harry Ickeringel, Chase Bergsma, Mitchell Forbes, Will Hart and Henry Chandler, the cocks of that crew. And it's 1.39 seconds now from Brighton Grammar over Christchurch Grammar, and then a full length back to Melbourne Grammar School, Lane 7 in third place. Then the Geelong College, possibly over on the far side of the course, Lane 2, has moved up into fourth spot ahead of both St Joseph's Sydney and also St Peter's Adelaide in the lane alongside them. Then the two crews, both from Melbourne on either side of the course, probably out of contention. Xavier College in 8 and Wesley College in Lane 1. So it'll come from the middle lanes, and still it is Brighton Grammar School in Lane 4 leading Christchurch in Lane 5. Then Melbourne Grammar Lane 7. It's going to be a good representation from the Victorians in both the schoolgirls and the schoolboys 8, it would seem. Brighton Grammar leading Christchurch from Western Australia, then Melbourne Grammar and St Peter's College Adelaide coming home well now in Lane 6, and they're a good chance here to move up into a top 4 spot ahead of those two crews on the far side, the Geelong College and also St Joseph's from Sydney. So a race in 6 for 4 spots in the final of the Schoolboys Coxed 8. It'll be Brighton Grammar and Christchurch going through 1 and 2. Christchurch have narrowed the margin on Brighton Grammar in the closing strokes, and St Peter's Adelaide are definitely up into 4th place now behind Melbourne Grammar School. So they should be the 4 to move through. Brighton Grammar just holding on. Christchurch closing quickly. They won't quite get there. A canvas to Brighton Grammar. Christchurch second. They're through to the final. 3rd place will be Lane 7, Melbourne Grammar, and St Peter's Adelaide, the champions of South Australia, will go through in 4th place. 5th then Lane 2, the Geelong College. 6th St Joseph's from Sydney. 7th place is the lane 8 combination from Xavier, and 8th will go to Wesley College over on the far side of the course. But the top 4 through to the A final, and another great race in the Schoolboys Coxed 8.
Wasn't it indeed? That was the second semi-final, so we now know Brighton Grammar will be joining the others in the A final, followed by Christchurch WA, who were second. Third were Melbourne Grammar, and fourth St Peter's College from South Australia. They all progressed through to the A final. Progressing to the B final, Geelong College, St Joseph's New South Wales, Xavier and Wesley College. Time for that semi-final, 7 minutes 3.35, the margin 0.74.
Just adjusted slightly to 7:03.47 now that time, Lizzie, but consistent with the previous semi-final. So 7 minutes and 7:03. Certainly not speedy times in the Schoolboys Coxed 8, but great racing regardless of that.
So we've got a final on the course at the moment. Pretty exciting, the Open Women's Coxed 8. And from this, I guess we'll have a little bit of a preview of what some of the strength of the states will be. They're racing for the Florence Eaton Trophy. In lane 2, it's the composite from West Australian, Swan River, Fremantle, University of Western Australia and Sydney University Boat Club. In lane 3, a composite between Adelaide, Sydney University Boat Club and UTS. In lane 4, Mercantile. In lane 5, a composite between Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Loreto, Old Scholars and Community and Phoenix Rowing Clubs. And in lane 6, a composite from the University of Queensland, Melbourne University, Toowong, Griffith Uni, Surfers Paradise.
And they're fairly spread out as they come through with about 600 metres to row. Possibly a preview of certainly some of the crews from the interstate regatta in this event. The Open Women's Coxed 8 racing for the Florence Eaton Trophy, just currently held by a composite crew from the west of the country, a Fremantle composite crew. Not sure if it's exactly the same combination as lane 2, which is the West Australian Rowing Club composite crew in this race, but they're unlikely to be our winners in any case. It's the Adelaide composite crew in lane 3. A number of NTC athletes in there: Fiona Ewing, Georgina Gotch, Emma Fessy, Georgie Rowe, Rowena Meredith, Olympia Aldersey, who we mentioned briefly before, Genevieve Horton, of course, the winner of the single scull a couple of days ago, and Molly Goodman in that crew, coxed by Talia Barnett-Heppels, and they do look to be the comfortable leaders here. That predominantly NTC crew from the Adelaide, Sydney University and University of Technology Sydney crews racing in lane 3. They've got a margin of a couple of lengths from the crew on this side, which would be the University of Queensland composite crew. Well, University of Queensland, Melbourne University, Toowong and Griffith University Surfers Paradise. So plenty of clubs from across the country in that combination. It was 8.61 seconds at 1,500 metres, and it's a bit more than that now as they close in on the finish line.
Interestingly, they've, at the last minute, by the looks of things, changed the seating order in this Sydney Uni crew, Adelaide, Sydney Uni UTS crew. They've taken Emma Fessy, who was going to be in the 3 seat, and they've put her back in the stroke seat. That's where she was for the World Championships, stroking them to a fine medal. And she's doing a great job here as well.
Yeah, she is indeed.
Nice rhythm.
Got the crew very much under control. They're well clear here, about 3 boat lengths it would be. I think the wind may have dropped a little in the last few minutes too, Lizzie. It's a bit flatter here at the finish line than it has been for a little while. And this crew in lane 3 will come across and take out the win in the Open Women's Coxed 8. The Florence Eaton Trophy goes to the Adelaide, Sydney University and University of Technology Sydney crew by at least 3 lengths it would be from lane 7 in second place. That's University of Queensland, Melbourne Uni, Toowong and Griffith University.
That's Melbourne Uni.
In fact, it's Melbourne Uni on lane 7. It is my page.
Yeah,
has
we
been
haven't
cut off
even-
at the wrong page, but
Yeah,
that
mine
is a
too,
Melbourne
we haven't
Uni
even said who
crew
they
in
are.
second place. Third goes to lane 2, the West Australian composite crew. Fourth is the bow numberless crew. That will be Mercantile, but the club from Melbourne. And fifth place,
Will be
the
they.
Adelaide crew, right alongside University of Queensland composite. So they'll be 5th and 6th on lanes 5 and 6, and probably the lane 5 combination will just hold on as they cross the line now. So it is Adelaide composite in 5th place, University of Queensland composite in 6th, and yes, there was a Melbourne University crew who were not listed on the program, but racing there in lane 7, and they finished in 2nd position.
How embarrassing. Yes, including Lucy Steffen from the national team. So
Yes, a pretty decent Melbourne University crew too,
was.
indeed, and but finishing second.
And coached by
behind the-
Matthew Ryan, who must be collecting coach of the regatta award at the moment. The number of crews he's had out there that he's been involved in, doing a great job. So we'll wait for those girls to come in, and we'll go through the names again as they come to the medal rostrum. In the field now underway, the race in the open men's quad scull. In lane 3, Sydney University. In lane 4, University of Queensland. In lane 5, Sydney Rowing Club. In lane 6, Melbourne University Boat Club, and in lane 7, a composite between West Australian, Swan River and University of WA. A little bit confusing there. Lane 5, it's got Sydney, then NTC, Sassy, etc. Sam Hardy recently returned from Harvard.
That crew actually is scratched.
Oh,
Lizzie,
is
so
it?
we won't.
There we go.
Much as we could talk about them, they're not in the race, that one, so that makes it easier.
They've gone.
A field of 4. It's the Melbourne University and NTC composite crew. Carsten Forstelling in that boat, along with Jonathan Hookway, Simon Keenan and Josh Booth. And Matthew Ryan could get another medal here the way they're going on lane 6. But over on the far side, Sydney University to the NTC and N-Swiss combination. Leon Chambers, David Barthelot, Campbell Watts and Cameron Girdlestone probably would be the race leaders. They had almost 3 seconds at the 1,500 metre mark, and they maintain that margin now over Melbourne University on this side. Then there's a composite West Australian crew in 3rd place. James Kerr, Oscar Winter, Sam Marsh and Jack Cleary. And University of Queensland back in 4th place. Guard Smoge, Samson Hatfield, Nicholas Winkler and Eric Toms. But the open men's quad scull, the first 2 crews approaching the finish line here. And it will be Sydney University over on the far side, it seems. Leon Chambers and David Barthelot and Campbell Watts and Cameron Girdlestone, all members of the Australian team, as well as they come across and go through and win it by a length. That's Sydney University on 1st place. 2nd will go to Melbourne University, Forstelling, Hookway, Keenan and Booth. 3rd place then the West Australian Rowing Club composite crew on this side of the course. And 4th will be the University of Queensland.
So these
So our final crew has crossed the line. The results of the open men's quad scull was a win for the Sydney University Boat Club. In 2nd, the Melbourne University Boat Club. In 3rd, the composite from West Australian, Swan River and the University of Western Australia. In 4th, University of Queensland Boat Club. The time for that event, 6 minutes, 53.22 seconds. The margin's 2.47. The presentation of medals and the Florence Eaton Trophy for the Open Women's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Jamie Grant, Director of Rowing South Australia.
no, it's actually David. Well, what's Bagnall doing?
Third place and bronze medalists, the composite from West Australian Rowing Club, Swan River Rowing Club, Fremantle Rowing Club, the University of Western Australia and Sydney University. Bronwyn Cox from the University of Western Australia. Hannah Vermeesh from West Australian Rowing Club. Adriana Marulli from Swan River Rowing Club. Janelle Austin from West Australian Rowing Club. Leah Franklin from Swan River Rowing Club. Annabelle McIntyre from Fremantle Rowing Club. Lily Tinapple from Swan River Rowing Club. Georgia Patton from West Australian Rowing Club. And their cox, Andrew Lee from Sydney University Boat Club. Second place and silver medalists, Melbourne University Boat Club. Lucy Stephan. Elise Frenetic. Katie Mitchell-Moore. Eleanor Price. Georgina Howe. Hedda Cooper. Alice Arch. Mila Marston. And their cox, Sarah Ben-David. The crew is coached by Matthew Ryan. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019, the composite from Adelaide Rowing Club, Sydney University Boat Club and UTS. Fiona Ewing from Sydney University Boat Club. Georgina Gotch from Sydney University Boat Club. Emma Fessy from UTS. Georgie Rowe from UTS. Rowena Meredith from Sydney University Boat Club. Olympia Aldersey from Adelaide Rowing Club. Genevieve Horton from Sydney University Boat Club. That's actually Molly Goodman from Adelaide Rowing Club. Now Genevieve Horton from Sydney University Boat Club. And their cox, Talia Barnett Heppels from Sydney University Boat Club. Jamie Grant will now present the Florence Eaton Trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2019 Australian champions and medalists in the Open Women's Coxed 8. The presentation of medals for the Open Men's Quad Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by David Bagnall, President of Rowing ACT. Third place and bronze medalists, the composite from West Australian Rowing Club, Sydney Rowing Club, Swan River Rowing Club and the University of Western Australia. James Kerr from the University of Western Australia Boat Club. Sam Marsh from the Swan River Rowing Club. Nathan Bowden from Sydney Rowing Club. Oscar Winter from West Australian Rowing Club. The crew is coached by Joe Tamigi and supported by the South Australian Sports Institute and the Western Australia Institute of Sport. Second place and silver medalists, Melbourne University Boat Club. Karsten Fosterling. Jonathan Hookway. Simon Keenan. Joshua Booth. The crew was coached by Matthew Ryan and supported by the National Training Centre. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2015, Sydney University Boat Club and the Australian National University. Leon Chambers. Sydney University Boat Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. David Bartolo from Sydney University Boat Club and the National Training Centre. Caleb Antill from the Australian National University and the Men's NTC. And Cameron Girdlestone from Sydney University Boat Club and the National Training Centre. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate all our medalists in the Open Men's Quad Scull Championship of Australia.